quiet hush of the night, as stars twinkle above, imagine yourself embarking on a journey from shadows to light, from uncertainty to triumph. Let your mind drift as we weave a tale of hope, resilience, and transformation. Once upon a time, in a bustling city filled with towering buildings and endless noise, lived a man named Elias. Elias was like many others, dreaming big, but caught in the web of daily struggles. Financial burdens weighed heavily on him, and each day felt like a battle to stay afloat. Despite the challenges, Elias held on to a vision, a dream of building something lasting, something that would not only uplift him, but also those around him. He envisioned a realm where homes weren't just structures, but sanctuaries of peace and joy. Every night, after long hours of work, Elias would sit by his window, gazing at the stars, whispering his dreams into the night. He believed that the universe listened, that his aspirations were seeds waiting to bloom. One evening, as he drifted into sleep, Elias found himself in a vast meadow under a starlit sky. A gentle voice called out to him, "Elias, your dreams are the blueprints of your destiny. Trust in them." From that night on, Elias felt a renewed sense of purpose. He began to study, to learn about real estate, architecture, and the art of building communities. He saved diligently, made connections, and slowly started acquiring properties. Years passed, and Elias's dedication bore fruit. He transformed neglected spaces into vibrant homes, creating neighborhoods filled with laughter and life. His real estate empire wasn't just about wealth, it was about building dreams. Elias became known as the Dream Weaver, a man who turned visions into reality. He never forgot his humble beginnings and ensured that his success uplifted others. As you lay here, listening to Elias's journey, remember that every challenge is a stepping stone, every dream a beacon guiding you forward. Let this story cradle you into restful sleep, knowing that your aspirations hold the power to transform your world. The seasons rolled on, and Elias's life continued to unfold like the pages of a quiet, powerful novel. He no longer lived in a cramped room with flickering lights and unpaid bills piled on the table. Now his mornings began with the sun gently pouring through tall windows, the sound of trees swaying in the breeze, and a sense of deep gratitude in his heart. But success didn't make him restless. In fact, it calmed him. Elias had learned the most valuable secret. True peace doesn't come from wealth alone, but from purpose and from giving meaning to every single step of the journey. So he began to build not just homes but hope. He funded housing for struggling families. He created green, sustainable spaces where children could run barefoot, where the elderly could sit and talk beneath fruit trees, where laughter echoed freely. Still at night, when silence fell and the city lights blinked in the distance, Elias would sit quietly with a warm drink in hand, close his eyes and think back to his hardest days. He remembered cold nights. He remembered staring at the ceiling with a heart full of worry. But most of all, he remembered never giving up. One evening, a young man named Rehan, much like Elias in his early years, knocked on his door. Nervous, with trembling hands, Rehan said, "I've heard your story, and I want to build something too, but I have nothing." Elias smiled gently and said, "Then you have exactly what I had, a dream and a reason." He took Rehan under his wing, just like the universe once carried Elias when he felt invisible. This was the legacy. Not just buildings, not just land, but inspiration passed quietly, soul to soul. Elias's story was no longer just his own. As you listen tonight, Breathe in gently and remember, struggles are temporary, but vision is timeless. Let your dreams rise like towers in the skyline of your future. Let your patience be the foundation. Let your heart be the architect. And let your hope always be the light in your darkest night. Because like Elias, your empire is coming, and you, dear dreamer, are already on your way. Years passed gently, like pages turned by a soft breeze. Elias, now older and wiser, walked through the communities he once only dreamed of. Families waved, children ran past him laughing, shop owners greeted him by name, and the trees he planted long ago now stood tall, casting wide, comforting shadows across quiet roads. But even as success surrounded him, Elias remained humble, because he knew that behind every silent night he once endured, there was preparation. Behind every no, there was redirection. Behind every delay, there was divine timing. He had built an empire, yes, but more importantly, he had built a life worth living, a life of intention. And now they looked out over the city, lights flickering like embers. Elias spoke gently. You know, Rayan, there was a time I had nothing but a mattress on the floor and a notebook full of broken dreams. And yet, I was rich even then, because I kept believing. Rayan looked at him and said, I used to think wealth was money, but now I see it's peace, it's purpose, it's having people who believe in you. Elias smiled. Exactly. And now it's your turn. Build more than buildings. Build stories. Build safety. Build hope. They sat in silence for a long while. Just the wind, the warmth of the desert air, and the echo of possibility all around. Dear listener, as you lie here tonight, let these final thoughts cradle you. You are not behind. You are being prepared. Your quiet days are not wasted. They are sacred, and every small step you take is a brick in your own empire. Trust the timing. Trust the process. Rest your thoughts. Your story is just beginning. So close your eyes now. Imagine Elias's world, serene, full of light and calm. Imagine walking those peaceful paths yourself one day, because you will. Your time will come. And when it does, you won't just rise. You'll rise with grace, with strength, with a story that others will one day whisper to their own hearts at night. Years after Rayan had begun building his own dream, Elias found himself returning to places he hadn't seen in decades. The small town he once left behind, the dusty roads, the broken signboard at the train station, and the silent bench where he once sat in hopelessness, still stood, waiting, changed, but not forgotten. He sat on that bench again, this time older, slower, quieter, and yet his heart beat with the same fire it once held when he had only his name, a dream, and a hunger to change everything. A young woman approached him that evening. She looked uncertain. "Excuse me, are you Elias Stone?" He smiled. "I used to be." She chuckled nervously. I grew up hearing your story. My father said you changed this whole country with your ideas. He said you made people believe again." Elias turned and looked at her kindly. "I didn't change the world. I just didn't stop walking when the path went dark." She sat beside him.
"I want to start something," she said, "but I'm afraid." Elias placed his hand over hers. "Then you're on the right path." She looked confused. "You can't build anything worthwhile without fear," he continued. "But fear isn't the enemy. It's the first friend you meet on your journey. You shake its hand, then you walk past it." She exhaled deeply, as if letting go of a weight. And as the stars appeared one by one, something inside Elias softened further. He realized his legacy was not the buildings, not the money, not the speeches. It was the invisible garden he'd planted in the hearts of others. A garden of courage, of belief, of gentle hope. That night, Elias returned to his home, now a quiet place of warm wood, slow jazz, and soft lighting. He stood at the window and looked at the city below, glittering, breathing, dreaming. And with a slow breath, he whispered, "I did it." Not loudly, not triumphantly, just peacefully, because he didn't need the world to clap anymore. He only needed the boy he used to be to smile, and somewhere in a long-forgotten corner of memory, that boy did. Tonight, as you listen, remember, you are building something, even when it feels like you're standing still, even when the world is quiet, even when no one sees, because every dream begins in darkness and blooms quietly, like a flower that only opens at night. Let Elias's story remind you that you are capable of more than you know, that the life you want is not a fantasy. Just a few more quiet steps away, eh? So, sleep now. Rest easy, won't you? Because your garden is growing. And one day, you'll wake up inside the dream you once thought was too big for you. Good night, dreamer. You are safe here, you know, and your future is waiting. Years passed, like quiet waves on a sleepy shore. Elias, now silver-haired and soft-spoken, lived in the hills above the city he helped shape. His home was surrounded by cypress trees and gentle wind chimes that whispered through the open windows. One misty morning, as the sun stretched slowly over the horizon, Elias opened an old drawer. There, tucked beneath fading notebooks and yellowed blueprints, was a letter. The envelope was sealed, his name written in his own handwriting, but it wasn't for someone else. It was a letter he wrote to himself years ago. When he had just failed his third business, when rent was overdue, when he had almost given up, he had written it in desperation, half prayer, half promise. Elias gently opened the letter. His eyes scanned the page slowly. It read, "Left double quotation mark to the version of me that never quits. If you're still here, thank you. If you made it, remember what it cost. But if you're tired, broken, or afraid, know this, one day you'll be free. Not rich, not famous, just free. To wake up without fear, to walk without shame, to sleep without sorrow. You are not weak for dreaming. You are strong for continuing. Don't give up." The old man smiled softly, and for a moment, he cried. But not from sadness, no. It was the kind of cry that washes something old away, like rain after a long drought indeed. Later that evening, Elias wandered into his garden. He touched the bark of the fig tree he had planted the day he bought the land, yes. And then he heard a voice. "Mr. Stone?" A young man stood near the gate. His eyes were full of fire. like Elias once had, yes. I got your letter, the boy said, holding a copy of an article Elias had written in a forgotten journal. It saved me, the boy added. It made me try again. Elias didn't say much, just walked over and offered a seat. They talked long into the night about failure, fortune, fear, and faith. It was in that conversation Elias realized, even when he was at his lowest, even when the world didn't know his name, even when he thought he was invisible, he had planted seeds in the dark, and now they were blooming in someone else. Dear listener, if tonight feels heavy, if your dreams seem too far, if the world outside feels cold or quiet, just know you are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not finished. You are simply becoming. Be gentle with yourself. Let this story be your blanket. Let these words be your lantern. And sleep knowing that the greatest stories don't begin with once upon a time. They begin with left double quotation mark. Good night, dreamer. You are never alone. Your future is watching, and it's smiling. Years had gracefully passed, and Elias, now in his twilight years, found solace in the quiet moments of life. His days were filled with serene walks through the gardens he had once envisioned, now flourishing with vibrant life. The laughter of children playing and the gentle rustle of leaves in the wind were melodies that brought peace to his heart. One crisp morning, Elias sat on a bench overlooking a tranquil pond, the water reflecting the golden hues of the sunrise. A young woman approached him, her eyes filled with curiosity and admiration. Mr. Elias, she began softly, I've heard stories of your journey, your resilience, and the empire you've built. I aspire to follow a similar path, but often find myself overwhelmed by doubt. Elias smiled warmly, his eyes twinkling with wisdom. Doubt is a natural companion on the road to greatness, he replied. It's not the absence of fear that defines us, but the courage to move forward despite it. They sat in comfortable silence, the world around them awakening with gentle sounds. Elias shared tales of his early struggles, the lessons learned, and the importance of staying true to one's vision. As the sun climbed higher, casting a warm glow over the landscape, Elias turned to the young woman. Remember, success isn't measured solely by wealth or accolades. It's found in the lives we touch, the hope we inspire, and the legacy we leave behind. She nodded, absorbing his words like a sponge soaking up water. Thank you, Mr. Elias. Elias gazed at the horizon, a serene expression on his face. Then my journey has served its purpose. As Elias's empire grew beyond what he ever dreamed, he found himself needing fewer meetings, fewer screens, fewer voices, you see. He created a private retreat, far from the pulse of business, a hidden garden behind his estate, where only birds, wind, and silence lived. The trees in this garden weren't just plants, they were his trees, grown from seeds he'd personally planted in the early years. Each one marked a milestone: his first sold apartment, his first office space, his first loan repaid. Now fully grown, they stretched toward the sky, as if honoring their gardener. Their leaves shimmered in golden evening light, as gentle wind carried the scent of lavender and cedar. Elias sat cross-legged on a stone bench. A warm herbal tea rested beside him. This was where he thought, not with urgency, not at all, but with peace. No phones, no plans, just presence. The bubbling sound of a koi pond nearby mirrored his heartbeat. Steady, slow. Birds rustled overhead, Somewhere in the distance, wind chimes sang in soft metallic tones. He smiled faintly as a memory visited him. A younger Elias sitting on the curb outside a closed bank, scribbling ideas on a torn envelope, hungry and broke. He remembered how unsure he was, and yet something inside him still believed. He whispered into the air, not for anyone to hear. Left double quotation mark. That night, the stars, they unfolded slowly across the sky, like velvet sprinkled with silver. And Elias, he sat quietly, not thinking of tomorrow's deals or next month's goals, but just feeling the wonder of how far one soul could travel, not by foot, not by flight, but by sheer belief. One afternoon, as golden light streamed through stained glass windows in his home library, Elias sat at an oak desk, weathered from years of use. He opened a fresh page in a leather-bound journal. And instead of writing to his staff, his company, or his future board, he wrote to you. Yes, you. The listener resting now, wondering if your path is still ahead, doubting your worth, sure of the road. He wrote slowly, deliberately, to the one lying awake at night. I know the weight in your chest. I felt it too. The silent anxiety of not knowing if it's all going to work out. I'm here to tell you, it does. But not in one day, and never all at once. Some chapters will feel like failure, but they're only transitions. Bridges you don't know you're crossing until you look back. And yes, I've seen darkness, the kind that makes you forget your own name. But I've also seen what waits on the other side. Light so bright, it makes you cry, not from pain, but from the beauty of surviving. He dipped the pen again and continued. Whatever you're dreaming, double it. Whatever you're fearing, face it gently. And whatever you've lost, trust that life is not done restoring you. Then, Elias rolled the letter, sealed it with wax, and placed it inside a time capsule, not to be opened until 100 years later. But the message, it wasn't sealed away. It was already traveling, like an invisible wind, into hearts that needed it. He stepped outside to the balcony. The sun was setting over the forest and towers he'd once only imagined. Gold and lavender hues painted the sky. Elias placed a hand over his chest, breathing deeply. Tonight, let your heart be light, your worries melt, and your dreams guide you gently into a tomorrow full of possibility. Thank you for spending this time with me, here in the quiet. If this story touched you, leave a layout or sums in the comments so I know you made it to the end. And tell me, what would your dream life look like one day? I read every word, and your vision matters here. Wishing you a night of deep peace. Good night, and keep dreaming.